Relationships, family, friends. This has been the dominant message of our liturgy and our texts that we have read and listened to as part of this generation to generation theme throughout the Advent season so far. But it is here in this week's reading that we hear the most clearly. It is the generational aspect of the Mary-Elizabeth friendship of family that drives this season, that gives rise to this miracle and the godly embodiment that we celebrate this coming Saturday and Sunday. Generations will call me blessed, Mary sings out. God has blessed you above others, Elizabeth tells Mary. Blessings and love. That is what this week really is about. It's about all the ways we start to notice God working amongst us, in us, and through us. For me, the story really starts with that leaping infant in utero. That's always the hook for me. I haven't been pregnant and didn't ever want to be. And so I don't know what that really feels like, but I know many who have related that moment of feeling the kid starting to move in there of its own accord. That moment when you go from being your own separate unit to suddenly a duo. So when I hear this story and I think about just how odd it must have been for Elizabeth, this first time truly geriatric mother, to feel a super strong moment of John's movement over and above what anything she might have felt, it must have been truly something. Not just the normal baby movement or kicks or hiccups or what have you of pregnancy, but a leap, we are told. Something must be up if I am so greatly affected, she must have thought. It is a moment of being so fully in tune with your body, more than I can probably honestly imagine. From only the leap of her own miracle child, she knows that her young cousin is also pregnant. And not just pregnant, but miraculously, unexpectedly carrying someone who will turn the world upside down. It is truly extraordinary. In Mary's arrival at Elizabeth's home, Elizabeth clearly felt honored. And it's a reminder in this season of gift-giving that the best we can do for each other is to be present. What a greater gift can we give each other but to show up for each other? There's, of course, that part of me that says, do you really think that a mother in her second to third trimester really wants an additional house guest to stay? But I'm not everyone. And it's clear from Elizabeth's reception that she did want this company. She did want to be a part of Mary's journey as much as Mary is a part of her journey. Because we need each other. Maybe more in these short, cold days than in the rest of the year even. And so having this story remind us of how Elizabeth and Mary live into their kinship, it's here to tell us that community is what we can make of it. And the simple act of being together can make a huge impact. Last night, a few of us gathered here to try out some of the crafts based around these stories, to eat and laugh and make something new just for the fun of doing it. And yes, it is a busy time of year, so we could have not done it. We could have canceled it. We could have tried not to schedule this or use this part of the curriculum. We could have stayed in our homes. But I'm honestly really glad that we did do it. Because we sat in the church basement eating spaghetti and sauce and meatballs and broccoli and weaving yarn and playing with watercolors so that we could talk with each other. So that we could live into this kind of shared camaraderie that Mary and Elizabeth offered each other too. In retrospect, it was the perfect weekend for it. as we sit here listening to Elizabeth and Mary's stories today. The simplicity of life together is what Mary and Elizabeth offer us. From generation to generation, we are blessed with love in Advent, as much as we are blessed with cookies and stress. We are truly blessed with love when we take the deep breath to see it and to feel it. To know that Elizabeth and Mary are a reminder that God's activity among us may not be what we think it is. They remind us to look for God all around us, especially among those we least expect to bear God's promise of the newness of life. And it is this newness of life, this promise, that is the impetus for Mary to not just hang out with her cousin, but to break out into song. A song for the ages, giving voice to the new relationship with the divine she is glimpsing on her life's journey. At the same time that she invites a new realm, a new world order, God's creation to rise amongst her. In her song, she affirms God's ability to act alongside the sacredness and the mercy of God. She says, in short, God acts, God's important, and God is merciful. These are truths that we continue to tell through more than just Mary's story. They become cornerstones of the lived reality of Mary's little boy, the teacher Jesus will become. When I started working with a Lutheran church in 2011, it was the first time that I sang hymns from something other than a UCC hymnal. I know that sounds really odd or possibly unimportant. But to me, it was fascinating to be pulled along in worship by these other hymns, ones that their community knew as well as the ones I knew from memory. And one such song, much beloved by that congregation, was the Canticle of the Turning, which is based on Mary's Magnificat, and yet not included in the Christmas or Advent hymns in the hymnal. It's placed in the Justice section of the Evangelical Lutheran hymnal. It is Mary's song set to new words for new times, and set alongside an upbeat Irish tune that feels almost like you're at a party. In the hymn, Mary's song says this: "Though I am small, my God, my all, you work great things in me, and your mercy will last from the depths of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame, and those who would for you yearn. You will show your might, put the strong to flight, for the world is about to turn." It is the turning that is critical. Mary's song stems from the awareness of that her world is about to turn, completely inside out and upside down. In the hope, peace, joy, and love of Advent, we try to remind ourselves that God's world is just a turn away from what we now inhabit. And as justice seekers, as people engaged in community in God's name, we should be seeking the turning of the world to this old, ever new way of celebration and change, of a time and place where the needs of the ordinary are highlighted and the powerful make it their life's work to establish and to maintain compassion in that justice and kindness. Infant John knows that there is a change brewing and leaps at it. Elizabeth feels this change coming in John's recognition and seeks out her connections. And Mary gives voice to the change to come, a world where she can see that faith values most caring, but on a global scale. Our faith is full of stories that could and do shock us, and our faith is full of people connecting with other people. God awakens the world through stories of people being people together. This is the surprise of these two women and their babies, that there is value in being people together, because it is from this core that we are able to seek and do the good necessary in the world. Though we read them separately, these two texts are one text. Mary's song is nestled into the story of Elizabeth. It is to Elizabeth that she sings. And so it is in relationship that Mary comes into her full power. It is their lack of societal power that they are most significantly unified in relationship. And they are reminded that God is within and amongst us all. For if Mary could be a place for divinity, so could any number of people. So could we be a home for Christ in the world. God is our histories, our stories, and is amongst and within and around us and those we care about most. And God is in song. This is the story of today. God is here in the singing, and God is here when we call upon those we feel drawn to sit with and to talk and just to be human together. God is amongst us when we see God in each other. Amen.